There have been more explosions in Gaza City hours after a blast at a Gaza hospital that killed hundreds of people and for which Israel and Palestine blame each other. US President Joe Biden, who arrived in Israel today, backed Israel's account that last night's hospital blast at Al-Ahli al-Arabi had been caused by Palestinian militants misfiring. Palestinian officials blamed an Israeli airstrike for the blast, which it said had killed as many as 500 people. Jordan cancelled the second half of Biden's itinerary, a planned summit in Amman with the leaders of Jordan, Egypt, and the Palestinian Authority. The fighting has raised the fears of a widening war in the Middle East. The United States has sent aircraft carriers to support Israel, which allies of Hamas, including Iran and Tehran's Lebanese proxy Hezbollah, have vowed to respond to a planned Israeli ground invasion of Gaza.
Mr. President, Joe, I want to thank you for coming here today and for the unequivocal support you have given Israel during these trying times, a support that reflects the overwhelming will of the American people. I've seen your support every day in the depth and breadth of cooperation that we have had since the beginning of this war, a level of cooperation that is truly unprecedented in the history of the great alliance between our two nations. We see that support in your steadfast commitment to provide Israel with the tools we need to defend ourselves. We see that support in the clear message you've sent our enemies not to test our resolve, and in the two American carrier battle groups that you sent to the region to back up those words with action. But above all, Mr. President, the world sees that support in the moral clarity that you have demonstrated from the moment Israel was attacked. You've rightly drawn a clear line between the forces of civilization and the forces of barbarism. You described what Hamas did as sheer evil. It is exactly that.
I wanted to be here today for a simple reason. I wanted the people of Israel, the people of the world, to know where the United States stands. I've had my great Secretary of State here. He's been here for a lot, but I wanted to personally come and make that clear. Terrorist group Hamas has slaughtered, as has been pointed out, over 1,300 people. And it's not hyperbole to suggest slaughtered, and including 31 Americans as part of that. And they've taken scores of people hostage, including children. You said, imagine what those children hiding from Hamas were thinking. It's beyond my comprehension to be able to imagine what they're thinking. Beyond my comprehension. They're committed evils that and atrocities that make ISIS look somewhat more rational. You know, Americans are grieving with you. They really are. And Americans are worried. Americans are worried because we know this is not an easy field to navigate, what you have to do. But the fact is that Israel, as they respond to these attacks, it seems to me that have to continue to ensure that you have what you need to defend yourselves.
All right, now for the latest from Tel Aviv, we cross to our reporter Ross Cullen for the very latest update on the developments there. Thank you so much for your time. Just walk us through the developments since Biden landed in Tel Aviv. We know, of course, that since his arrival, they've had 2 or so engagements with the Prime Minister of Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu, both essentially, blaming the attack of that hospital that we saw on Hamas. What else did they have to say?
Yeah, that's right. He landed Air Force One at Ben Gurion Airport just outside Tel Aviv, and then gave opening statements, Joe Biden and Benjamin Netanyahu, before they went into closed-door meetings without the press. And we heard some of those opening statements just there in the introduction. The two men clearly outlining their support for each other. Joe Biden saying he wanted to be here physically, in person, to meet the Israeli people, to meet the Israeli leadership, to continue to show that US support for Israel. He also did say we must help innocent Palestinians who are caught in the middle of this. Hamas does not represent the Palestinian people. And he also seemed to concur with the opinion of the IDF, the Israeli Defense Forces, about who was to blame for last night's rocket strike on a hospital in the Gaza Strip, by saying it looks as though it was the other team, not you. That's what Joe Biden said. Of course, Benjamin Netanyahu has clearly said that that was an attack by militants inside the Gaza Strip. It now looks as though, according to Israel, it was the smaller of the two militant groups, the Palestinian Islamic Jihad, who set off a rocket that malfunctioned, and then it was a misfired rocket that landed and blew up on the hospital. Hamas have denied it, Palestinian Islamic Jihad have denied it, and Israel have denied that it was one of their airstrikes that hit the hospital. So we have had that claim and counterclaim, but it now seems that the United States rowing in behind Israel and its version of events.
And of course, a lot of people calling for Israel to actually conduct a thorough investigation in terms of their claims, that this was in fact another militant group to blame for the attack. Let's talk now about the cancellation of the Jordan meeting. Many have called the situation a fluid one and unprecedented. That cancellation of that meeting that was supposed to take place with Arab leaders, who were meant to meet Biden today. But of course, the result of the attack of the hospital, as well, of course, as we understand that another UN school was also attacked, where 6 Palestinians were killed there too. And again, Israel being blamed for that attack. How has this cancellation impacted Biden's trip? I mean, many are calling it now a one-sided trip, where he's only going to essentially be meeting with the Israeli leaders.
Not as soon as the airstrike was confirmed on that hospital, if it came from Israel, if it came from Hamas, if it came from Palestinian Islamic Jihad, Mahmoud Abbas, the Palestinian Authority president, pulled out of that planned 4-way summit and said he was going straight back to the West Bank to respect the days of national mourning that he had called for. It was meant to be Joe Biden, Mahmoud Abbas, the Egyptian president Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, and the Jordanian King Abdullah holding a 4-way summit in Amman, the Jordanian capital, but that summit was scrapped after Mahmoud Abbas pulled out. And Jordan was saying as well, the foreign minister saying today, Wednesday, that there is no use talking about anything apart from ending the war. However, Israel have made it very clear that they want to continue with their aims of, quote, crushing and destroying Hamas and wiping Hamas from the face of the earth. And it's believed that that could well include this ground invasion, this ground incursion into the Gaza Strip, which many would see as a prolongation of the war, or an escalation as well. That's certainly been the warning from other sides. In the Arab states last night, we did see a lot of demonstration. We saw in Beirut, in Lebanon, in Amman, in Jordan, in the West Bank. We've also seen it in the Tunisian capital as well. The French embassy there attacked. There has been a lot of pressure on Western embassies, on Western consulates, and demonstration, this overall sense of anger. Another 500 Palestinian lives lost in this conflict, and overall now, including those that have been lost in, if it was a rocket misfiring or in Israeli airstrikes, more than 3,000 people have died in the Gaza Strip just in the last 12 days since the original brutal attack by Hamas here inside Israel on the 7th of October.
Ross, thank you so much for that update. Really do appreciate it. Of course, that was Ross Cullen, our correspondent, reporting live there from Tel Aviv.